Good morning, all. As we enter into this service, let me remind you that you have been muted by our host. This being our first all Zoom service in a long time, we ask for your understanding if there are some moments of technical difficulty. Also be advised that this service is being recorded and with the exception of joys and concerns will be published online. We are all Zoom today because our sanctuary and the entire Arlington Square building is under a tent. Look at that. That's crazy. Okay. Finally, if you wish, take a moment to arrange your own chalice at home. The power of every voice is critical in the work for human rights. And here we are once again in community, being invited into our annual ritual of hope and possibility that is at the same time a call to action. Those words by Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. I will now light my chalice, and if you have one at home, feel free to light yours as well. We light this chalice, symbol of our faith alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community. Those words by Reverend Deanna Vandiver. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote, that's all of you, our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever's with you to sing with us as big and loud as you like. Make it a joyous experience. Now let us sing the opening hymn, number 142, Let There Be Light. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We're glad you've joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect us with the UU7 principles. Today's service centers around the sixth principle. We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. The goal of world community with peace, freedom, and justice for all may not be attainable. It may be an uphill battle, an impossible dream. And yet, if we give up without trying, we lose the opportunity to do what we know is right. We lose the chance to put our principles to work, to create more peace, more freedom, and more justice in the world. My name is Andy Fagan, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service. I'd like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you joined us this morning. If you're not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website at uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out what's happening, the e-blast sent to you every week. This is a great way to keep up to date with all our latest news. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. And the membership committee invites non-members to consider joining the UUCC. Please contact Diane DeMarco or a person on the board if you're interested. Thank you. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUCC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. We set aside this time for any announcements that would be of interest to our UU community members and friends. Please keep your items short and to the point. If something needs more explanation, contact the person after the service. If you'd like to make an announcement, please raise your Zoom hand. When Diane calls your name, please unmute yourself and then speak.
Hey, Mary or Jan, whoever has your hand up, could you please unmute?
It is I, Jan. Yes, we are so close to our goal. The scholarship committee, we're getting so close. We have until May 1st, which is like a week away, or maybe a little more than a week. Please, if you have not contributed and you would like to, or you know someone who would like to, please do so and let us help these kids out. They are just amazing. We've planned a beautiful service, and we're going to have a brunch afterwards in the sanctuary. It's just going to be fabulous. And we have coming at that service one of our previous recipients, Martha Mora, who is graduating this year with her master's from Harvard. So we did something there, and we want to continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan. Janet Cooper, would you please unmute yourself and tell us your announcement?
Thanks, Diane. It took me a while to figure out how to raise my hand. It's been so long. Just saying today, it's fourth Sunday, and we're taking our first collection for Green Space today. So don't forget when it's time to do the offering. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. And any other announcements? I have a quick announcement, and that is we have a new member, and that's Steve Cole. And when you get a chance, and we're back in the sanctuary, and you haven't spoken to him, do introduce yourself and say hello. Okay,
I have an announcement.
Randy.
Yeah, I can't raise my Zoom hand because I'm running slides, so I have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Okay, we'll go with the hand, real hand.
Yeah. All right, two announcements. First, tomorrow at 4:30, an all Zoom worship committee meeting. So those of you on the committee, please be there on Zoom at 4:30. If you're others are welcome to join us. Just let me know by email, and I'll send you a link. And all is good. Okay, and the second announcement is game night this Friday night, Friday after 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. in the sanctuary, our bug-free sanctuary, and bring a side dish or dessert or a salad, and we'll have a great time. And also any games that you'd like to have with you. So game night, Friday night at 5 p.m. Be there.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, back to you, Andy.
Thanks, everybody. Next week, Laura Deloy will present Community. How crowded is your table? Sharing together some of our personal and significant joys and concerns brings us closer as a faith community. We invite you to share the milestones that are deeply felt as part of your personal life. Express a gratitude, or perhaps offer an acknowledgement. But please be mindful and considerate of all who come to worship this morning. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. Please join in singing the response.
May our words of joy and sorrow find solace in our hearts.
This morning, I am borrowing liberally from the worship service resources the UUSC provides. Our first reading is a recording of a story for all ages titled The Parrot and the Eagles. It is narrated by Reverend Laura Randall, Director of Congregation Relations for the UU Service Committee, and illustrated by Hannah Moy. Please allow me a moment to get things queued up, and we will share that story.
Called The Parrot and the Eagles. This story is adapted from the Jataka Tales, a collection of Buddhist stories from India. Once upon a time, a long time ago in an ancient forest, there lived a little green parrot. This parrot loved the forest. She loved the great big trees and the dappled sunshine. She loved her friends, the sloth and the anteater. She loved flying through the forest canopy and looking for yummy fruit in the branches. Sometimes, when she was feeling adventurous, she would even fly up and out of the forest. From there, she could see the river, which ran through the valley like a silk ribbon, and the mountains, which surrounded the forest, their tops disappearing into the clouds. Sturdy goats lived in the mountains, and giant eagles built their homes there. One day, the parrot woke up from a nap and found that her nest was surrounded in smoke. The forest was on fire. Quickly, the parrot flew up very high, and looking down saw that the fire was spreading quickly. Soon it would consume the whole forest. "Oh dear," said a deep voice next to the parrot. "That is very sad." Parrot looked over and saw it was a giant eagle perched on a nearby mountain ledge who had spoken. "It's a shame, really. It was such a nice forest," continued the eagle. "But don't worry, little parrot. You can stay in the mountains. Here you will be safe." "But my friends," said the parrot, "sloth and anteater and all the monkeys and deer, they can't escape. What will happen to them? The eagle shrugged a bit with his large wings. The parrot soared above the forest, fretting as the fire spread, and then she got an idea. She dove down into the river and then flew back up again high, right over the fire. She shook her wings, and a few drops of water fell onto the flames with a hiss. Quickly, she dove back into the river and repeated the process again and again. Dive, splash, fly, hiss. With all this strange action, it caught the attention of some of the other eagles who joined the first eagle on the mountain perch. After watching several rounds of the parrot diving and flying, putting out a little flame here and there, one of the eagles shouted, "That will never work. Can't you see it's useless? Your wings are too small. You should give up." Without slowing down, the parrot shouted back, "I may be small, but we're not small together. Together we can stop the fire. Will you help me?" The eagle shuffled nervously. I mean, sure, it was a nice forest, but it wasn't like they lived there. And all this diving into rivers and flying over flames looked a little dangerous. The mountain ledge was safe. Then one of the eagles dove off the ledge and into the river below. Just like when she caught a fish there, she rose out of the river, her wide wings shimmering with water, and splashed it down onto the flames below. Hiss! "Yeah!" cried the parrot, and she dove back into the river herself. One by one, the other eagles followed, diving into the river and carrying water to put out the flames. It took all day and into the night, but finally the last orange flame disappeared and the smoke vanished into the clouds over the mountains. The exhausted little green parrot slumped against her new eagle friend. "See," said the parrot, "I knew we were not small together." "You were right," said the eagle. "Together we were bigger than we ever imagined." The end.
Let us now enter a place of serenity where you are one with your spiritual being. Be at peace within your space, where the absence of all that is temporal is its most cherished gift. Let us enter the stillness. Spirit of life, we are here as a community dedicated to all that is good and just and beautiful. We ask that we might be strengthened in our dedication to a better world. We hold in our hearts all those who are oppressed by forces of privilege and power, whose lives are torn by war, who are prisoners of conscience. May we find it within ourselves to capture a vision of a future that can be, to recognize a brother or a sister in a distant nation, that we may serve without fear the cause of justice for all. Amen. Bill Lakin was one of our congregation's founders and also served as our congregation's Unitarian Universalist Service Committee liaison. Several years ago, Bill handed over that role to me. Not all of us are familiar with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, so for our second reading, I will share this basic description from their website. UUSC is a nonprofit, non-sectarian organization advancing human rights together with an international community of grassroots partners and advocates, focusing on intersecting roots of injustice, defending rights at risk due to criminalization and systemic oppression of people based on their identity. They support self-determination and defend the rights of people displaced due to climate, conflict, or economic hardships, and they respond to humanitarian crises as partners with people whose access to aid is most limited. Striving to center the voices of people most affected by injustice, UUSC creates eye-to-eye relationships with frontline grassroots movements across the world that support marginalized communities in determining their steps for the future. The UUSC mission is to advance human rights and social justice around the world, partnering with those who confront unjust power structures and mobilizing to challenge oppressive policies. Our work is grounded in the belief that all people have inherent power and dignity. Now we will sing hymn number 117, O Light of Life. Thank you, Jen and Mary. You sound great. All of yesterday's work was worth it. Thank you. I will present today's talk titled UUSC Making a Difference Around the World. Members of this UU community have always been generous with our giving, including what we donate to the UUSC. The Service Committee's work goes on every day of every season, as it has since its formation in 1939, in response to the horrors of World War II. Its history is a long and remarkable one, which I encourage you to learn more about by visiting their website, www.uusc.org. This year's Guest at Your Table theme is Hope, Courage, Action. The Guest at Your Table website states, through the Guest at Your Table program, congregations provide vital support to those who need it most, including communities impacted by forced migration, climate disasters, and other human-made crises. This year has seen escalations of violence in places like Ukraine and Burma, devastation to communities around the world due to the climate crisis, and the increased need for solidarity with historically marginalized people seeking refuge within the United States. UUSC's grassroots partners are asking us to seek hope, find our courage, and take action with them in this critical moment. It is our hope that today's service offers inspiration and conviction to answer the call and live our Unitarian Universalist values in the world. Allow me to note, it is inevitable that politics will intersect with the work of the UUSC. The realm in which they do their work deeply overlaps areas where governmental policy has tremendous influence. As in much that we do here in our small but mighty congregation, and in the broader UU community, there may be times when we are conflicted about which way is the right way. The UUSC's work is always grounded in UU principles and values, but the issues being addressed are complicated, and so, as we always do, we must follow our covenant, discuss, and find the common ground on which we can all feel recognized. Here's a short video about the Guest at Your Table program.
Did you know that Unitarian Universalists have been coming together for decades to support human rights through the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee's Guest at Your Table program? During this special program, UUs of all ages learn more about important issues and the groups, or partner organizations, UUSC works together with to advance human rights. Working with community-based groups like UUSC Partners is a great way to get help directly to folks after disasters like a hurricane, and helps make sure the needs that are most important to communities are being met. UUSC works with more than 50 partner organizations around the globe, together responding to humanitarian crises, gender-based violence, persecution of activists, climate change, and more. Guest at Your Table is a chance to get to know our partners and these issues better through learning the stories of 4 people connected to UUSC partners as if we were sharing a meal together. They are the guests in Guest at Your Table. After getting to know the guests, UU spread the word about human rights and raise much-needed funds for UUSC partners. From supporting youth leadership trainings, to amplifying their voices to world leaders, to buying needed supplies after a natural disaster, our partners request our help with all sorts of projects that make a difference in their communities. Through Guest at Your Table, Unitarian Universalists form a mighty web that helps support UUSC partners in their important work. Thank you for helping keep this important tradition going strong and joining us in the Guest at Your Table program.
You may have seen this poster hanging in the sanctuary showing this year's 4 guests. We're now going to hear from each of them. Born and raised in Rwanda, our first guest, Ineza Umuhoza Grace, will tell us how climate change has devastated life in her rural homeland. And in spite of the vast differences in economies, you might note how Rwanda and California are struggling with some of the same phenomenon caused by weather extremes all around the globe.
I was born and raised in Rwanda. During my lifetime, our temperature has increased far more than the global average. This was not driven by us. People in the least developed country, like mine, emit 35 times less carbon than those in high-income countries. Rwandans rely heavily on the land, and we are used to coping with the long rainy season and the challenge of our mountainous landscape. But climate change is making things worse, and we are being pushed beyond our ability to adapt. Rain erodes soil and kills livestock. Land degradation affects the whole community, displacing thousands. My family had a small and cozy home, but like so many others, had to live with just their clothes and bags, forced to move to a communal house. The last period of intense rainfall lasted for 5 months. It destroyed roads and health centers, leading to over 130 deaths. These damages are profound. These losses are irreversible. Climate change disproportionately affects rural girls and women. Daily tasks such as collecting water and cooking wood are made increasingly difficult by droughts and floods that wash away agricultural income, leaving them with nothing. Youth-led climate action can bring these stories of loss and damage that go unseen and unheard to the fore.
We have the power and the knowledge to develop solutions, but we need the right financial support. Our call is for developed countries of the world to listen and to act.
Next up, Zsolt Zekaras from the Hungarian Helsinki program, speaking about refugees. He will refer to the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, which was established by the United Nations General Assembly in 1950, in the aftermath of the Second World War, to help millions of Europeans who had fled or lost their homes. Here's Zsolt.
So my name is Zsolt Zekaras, and I'm a senior legal officer of the Hungarian Helsinki Committee. I work in the refugee program. And the Hungarian Helsinki Committee is the largest and oldest organization in Hungary, which, and in fact, the only organization in Hungary which provides legal assistance and representation for asylum seekers and refugees who come seeking Hungary's help in providing them with refuge when they fear persecution, serious harm, war, or other atrocities against human rights. And we provide in-person and individualized counseling and legal representation for asylum seekers and migrants. And with regard to the war in Ukraine now, the Hungarian Helsinki Committee is also, of course, in the forefront of the response. We work together closely with UNHCR, which we have been cooperating with for the past 20 plus years. We are the implementing partner of UNHCR in Hungary. We conducted nearly 60 monitoring visits at this point to a number of facilities all over the country, provided nearly 6,000 individuals with legal counseling, with information. We train professionals and volunteers, first responders, and provide information which is key to those who seek our help. The war in Ukraine was quite transformative for our work for a number of reasons. I mean, first, there is a war right next door in a neighboring country, which really changed the dynamic and the social composition of the people fleeing to Hungary. Hungary became a first country of arrival for people fleeing directly from a war-torn country. Before that, the vast majority of asylum seekers coming to Hungary did not come directly from one of the neighboring countries. So for us, especially in the time when the Hungarian government was moving not only to curtail the rights of asylum seekers and migrants, but also to intimidate those who helped them through the introduction of the Lex NGO in 2017 and the use of oppressive and hate-mongering and fear-mongering language by government officials, using also the propaganda machine from 2017 really until this day. We were in dire need of any assistance and help, both in terms of publicity, moral support, and financial support for the activities that we carry out for the protection of asylum seekers and in general the rule of law in Hungary. And it was very uplifting for us that our partners, and including UUSC, did not abandon us in this fight. And the responses that we got, including from UUSC, was that despite the government's clear efforts to shut us down, you will stand behind us and keep supporting the important work that we do.
I think you'll hear in Ian Zdanowicz's remarks how the things that make caring communities so important are universal. The loving actions that work for Ian's Queer Detainee Empowerment Project, QDEP, also work for our community. Just a note, there's a good bit of traffic noise in the background of Ian's video, which he apparently recorded in his New York City apartment. Very real. Take a listen.
Hi, my name is Jan Stanovic, and I'm one of the co-directors of Queer Detainee Empowerment Project, and I coordinate Direct Services Program. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about solidarity in times of crisis and what does it mean for our organization. At Queer Detainee Empowerment Project, solidarity and mutual care are one of the core values. We put a lot of effort in creating space for our members who are LGBTQ folks directly impacted by immigration system, where they feel that they belong and that they have agency and power to rebuild their lives and communities. Solidarity means to us various things, from daily peer support, where members support each other during hard emotional situations, like court hearings, loss of someone that they loved, to transphobic or homophobic violence, writing letters to our members who are still in detention, as well as during happy moments, moments of victory, when they got released and are messaging us from outside, when they finally received their work permit or won their asylum, or just when they share daily messages on our WhatsApp group saying, "Good morning, hope you all are going to have a great day," and they are sharing a funny meme. Those big and small signs of solidarity are so important from our perspective because we come from communities that went and are still going through a lot of violence, discrimination, and hurt. And for our members, a lot of days still feel like crisis. One of QDEP's hope is that through those daily acts of solidarity and mutual care, we can rebuild trust in other people and create a community that will have each other backs no matter what is happening. Solidarity for us is also a sort of communal healing, a daily practice of empathy, patience, listening, and learning. Daily practice of failing to understand each other but not giving up and trying again and again. Solidarity means showing up for a hard discussion after a conflict has occurred in a group, to clarify our words and intentions, and to try to repair the hurt that was caused so we can move on together without leaving anyone behind. It is our political choice and commitment to radical inclusivity not to create any requirements regarding language that the person must speak to join QDEP, or specific gender identity or sexuality. QDEP puts a lot of work into making all our messages, meetings, and events accessible in English, Spanish, and French, languages that our current members speak. We wanted to thank UUSC for their continued support to our organization and your faith in our mission. Since 2017, you have been helping QDEP to carry out our work and programming that is so vital for our members in the process of rebuilding their lives in a new country and in fighting for a better future without ICE, detention system, and without criminalization of our communities. Our work wouldn't be possible without supporters like you. Thank you so much for it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Burma, or Myanmar, has been riddled with conflicts for decades. Community and human rights activists that the UUSC supported were at the forefront of the civil society movement that pushed the military government to undertake democratic reforms. But in recent years, the military campaign against minority groups, most notably the Rohingya Muslims, has been brutal. Nawa Kushe is this year's fourth guest at our table.
My name is Nawa Kushi. I'm working for the Current Peace Support Network, KPSN. KPSN is a network organizations, coalitions of the community-based organizations from the Thai-Burma border as well as inside Burma. It's comprised of more than 20 community-based organizations. And we document the ongoing human rights violations related to the military activities and related to the international harmful developments. And at the same time, we continue raising awareness about what's going on in the ethnic area, especially in current state. And also advocating for the genuine change and try to push for the policy change, genuine change in Burma. For us, the situation is worsening each day due to the military regime, the military dictatorship, and the ongoing human rights violations committed by the regime, especially the continuous airstrikes and heavy artillery shells into villages and into the farming areas nearly every day. So the fighting is not only in the current state, it is a nationwide. It's happening in all over Burma. Currently, we have seen that everyone stand up, even people from inside Burma stand up against this military regime and coming together. For us, we continue fighting for the genuine change, especially the establishment of the federal democracy in Burma, equality for the ethnic people. So we have been calling for the international to support our call, not to recognize this military regime, and to impose economic sanctions against this regime, including aviation fuel, and as well as supporting those who are flee conflict. We hope that this is the time that people all over Burma coming together, stand up together against this brutal military regime. And we have seen that everyone have suffered under this military regime. This is why it's important that we are united and we come out with the same voice, continue fighting for change, especially the establishment of federal democracy and the bring down of these military regimes. And at the same time, we also need the international support, like to continue pushing for the real reforms and change in Burma, where we could go back and live peacefully, equally as a community and as a people of Burma. Through the support from the UUSC, we can continue our activities. We can continue document the ongoing human rights violations and to raise awareness about the human rights situations in Burma. And we also can continue our campaign and continue pushing for the genuine reform in Burma.
Finally, on a personal note, Mimi and I, as I said earlier, are just back from a trip to Spain and France, which included several days visiting World War II historical sites in Normandy, France. Pont du Hoc, Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, the Canadian and the American cemeteries, as well as several museums in Bayeux and Caen. I paid my respects, said my prayers, and was humbled by the enormous scale and gravity of everything about that tragic war. So much evil, so much inhumanity, so much suffering, so much loss. And I was horrified to be reminded of how 80 years later, how much the hatreds and inhumanity that led to that horrific war still exist in today's world. In supporting the Guest at Your Table program and the UUSC with your donations, you can help them in their brave efforts to achieve the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. The morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember that we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you're viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Thank you, Jan, for shining some sunlight for all of us after all those serious issues. And thanks to all for the gifts given and received for the work of this community and the work of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And now, let us sing in praise of our UU faith. And now we will sing the closing hymn, number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. We extinguish the flame of this chalice, and we know that the light of truth and love and the warmth of this community go with us until we meet again. Please extinguish your chalice at home now. For the closing words, we can form a circle in spirit. Afterwards, we encourage you to share your questions and comments. Be they parrots or eagles, may our offerings remind us that our commitments and our actions are how we live our Unitarian Universalism in the world. May we follow the leadership of those most impacted by injustice in making the world anew. And may this practice serve as an immense blessing, like the release of a giant cloud of birds that startles our spirits into remembering to hope anew. Go in peace.